Well, I butchered that last intro on Friday, so I'll let someone else do it.
Alright, what's up everybody? We're back again with our divisional breakdowns. Last week we did the NFC South, so we're going to go ahead and continue with the AFC South this week. Got to talk about a little news up top though. I guess it's a big news. Aaron Rodgers is going to play this season. That's great for me. Makes me really happy. We get one last chance with Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl, and Davante Adams is coming back, and it might be his last year too, but it's pretty fun that they're going to come back. It's a little awkward because they're both the GM and Aaron Rodgers are talking about reviewing his place in Green Bay at the end of the year, which kind of means they're probably going to trade him.
Oh, yeah.
But, at least we get one more year. Packers fans get to watch it and then move on. Or who knows, if something crazy happens, we'll get to keep him. If you want to know more, I would really suggest looking up the Aaron Rodgers press release. It's on the Green Bay Packers Twitter page. It's like a 32-minute video, if you want to watch it, of him just kind of talking about everything that was going on. He's very candid during it, and you get to kind of learn a lot of where he's coming from, and it's pretty interesting. But other than that, yeah, he's coming back, so all your Packer stock going back up for at least this year, and should be fun.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I watched that interview, and it's pretty cool, man. Sounds like you had a good time near bodies of water this summer. So, yeah, I didn't quite understand what the hang-up was up there, but at least they could come to terms to at least get this party started in 2021.
Yeah, it's cool that, like I said, it's awesome that they worked it out. It's cool. Everybody's like, oh, he's such a baby, but I mean, he's showing up and playing even though he doesn't really like what's going on there. So, got to give him props for that, I'd say, at the very least. I mean, he's going to go. Same thing with Davante Adams. He's like, oh, we don't have a contract worked out, but I'm here to play. Like, it doesn't matter.
Keeping in mind the AFC South, I just want to go ahead. I always forget to do this in the beginning or throughout the episode, so I'm just going to read off some records from last year, let everybody know where we're at. We had the Colts were 11-5, as were the Titans. The Houston Texans were a very sad 4-12, and the Jaguars were a very lucky 1-15.
Yeah.
Like that, I know everyone's going to forget like how much the Jets won a game.
Yeah.
How, they were earmarked for Trevor Lawrence since like 2019, and they just had to win that game. So good job, Jacksonville, getting very last place. I don't think it's going to work out just because you happen to hire the wrong coach. But speaking of coaches, I mean, I think we're going to go to the Colts. I think that's one of the favorites around here.
These pots.
Yeah.
And since Christian's a huge Frank Wright guy, we're just going to let him do the coach's corner on this.
I don't know about all that.
Uh-oh.
I do like him, but...
Yeah, the puppet master himself. I do kind of have the layout. This was my last guy. The offensive coordinator, Marcus Brady, but I don't think we need to worry about him at all. So I'll just skip him, go right into Frank Wright. He actually started his NFL career with the Colts as a coaching intern in 2006, offensive assistant 2008, moved on to be the Colts quarterback coach 2009, 2010. That, of course, was the Peyton Manning NFL MVP season. He also went to back-to-back Pro Bowls under, I guess, the coaching of Frank Reich, if you want to say that. He did move on to be the wide receivers coach in 2011, where Manning did miss the season due to injury. Using 3 different quarterbacks, though, Reggie Wayne caught 75 passes for 960 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Pierre Garçon 70 receptions, 947 and 6. So not the worst for having to go through backup quarterbacks. Moving on to 2012, where he was the Arizona wide receiver coach, coaching Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh.
His Pro Bowl, 7th Pro Bowl selection at that point, so I wouldn't say he really
wasn't responsible for the Fitz.
Yeah, but I mean, he did do pretty well. In 2013, going on to the San Diego Chargers as a quarterback coach, where Phillip Rivers led the NFL with a career-high 69.5 completion percentage, while also matching his career-high 105.5 QB rating. He had a pretty good year, but, I mean, it's funny because you can't really say he was responsible for too much, considering these guys were already very established.
For sure.
He did become the offensive coordinator for the Chargers 2014 and 15.
Nice.
Where Rivers did lead the lead in career high and franchise record 437 completions. Guy likes to throw the ball. And finishing second in the NFL career high was 4,792 yards passing. Moving on to 2016, where he's the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. This is kind of his first chance as taking rookie Carson Wentz and transitioning him. If you recall, that first year wasn't too bad. He set a franchise and an NFL rookie record for completions. And then moving on to the 2017 season, where he's offensive coordinator for the Eagles. And he did, in fact, that's the year of the Eagles we don't talk about. They did win the Super Bowl that year. I forget who they beat to get there. We'll go skip right through that. But Carson Wentz did have a pretty good year. And then, of course, Nick Foles. Fuck Nick Foles. So we'll skip right over that. 2018, becoming the head coach at Indianapolis. The offensive line ranked first in the NFL for fewest sacks. Andrew Luck, 4,593 yards and 39 TDs. He was calling the plays. And then, you guys know the rest.
Yeah.
As far as coming up to modern day. But
Fewest
now,
sacks.
I did think that's interesting bringing old Carson Wentz to the Colts, because you kind of have that Frank Reich connection from when he coached him for the Eagles.
Absolutely.
Starting his rookie year. So obviously that's the main connection from all the coaches' corner. Everything else seemed like he just paid his dues and made his way here.
Yeah.
So with
Pretty
that
solid
said,
track record, yeah.
Yeah, not bad at all. So I'll kick it over to you guys, see what you guys have to say.
There's not much to hate about Frank Reich. It honestly kind of makes him look like the mastermind of that Eagles Super Bowl. Not so much Doug Peterson, but that's something we could get into later maybe.
Meh.
But I'm pretty excited about this team. I'm excited about Carson Wentz's opportunity behind like an actually good coach and solid line. The Eagles were just so destroyed last year, and we don't need to talk about Carson Wentz that much because obviously. It was an interesting offseason because another thing I've been on for this podcast, I get onto teams for not spending money because what's the point? You don't have it. Like, you don't get to keep it, so why not spend the money? Well, the Colts are kind of the exception to that rule because they had so many big free agents coming up that they couldn't really afford to go ham in free agency. They got to make Darius Leonard probably the highest paid middle linebacker in the league.
For sure.
They just paid Braden Smith, their right tackle, who is going to be awesome for them. They just paid him a lot of money, and they have a few more. So when you look at their offseason, they didn't really do much other than trading for Carson Wentz, but they tried to kind of lock down the offensive line and because they lost Anthony Costanzo. They bring in Eric Fisher, who, if he's healthy, he could still be good. And like he wasn't amazing last year, even when healthy, and then he got hurt. But that's a great replacement for Costanzo. And then they bring in Sam Tevy as just kind of that depth pick. So I really like kind of what they did in the offseason, even though a lot of these names don't pop off to you.
Hey, they pop off to me, man. Eric Fisher's a badass. 3 years ago or whatever. No, but like you're saying, it's weird. we've discussed this throughout covering the draft and what we expected with some of these struggling franchises, and how none of them seemed very interested in the O-line.
Yeah.
Aside from the Jets, and, the Chargers did pretty well.
Yeah.
But then you have a team whose offensive line ranks 7th in the year, go ahead and get
Double
some depth.
down.
And yeah, exactly. So that's pretty cool. They're ranked 5th in O-line ranking preseason, and it's pretty cool. I like what they did on the defensive side of the ball too. Spent a lot of draft picks on the front line there, and they've always had a strong front four. And I don't know. This is one of those teams that just built the D line and the O line, and is just building the rest of the team.
Yeah, build from the line out. Really can't go wrong.
But there's nothing crazy sexy about what they've done. As far as fantasy football goes. So they got Carson Wentz, who has had some really amazing years. Obviously, last year wasn't one. But that's cool. That's how he gets to start over with probably a better coach, probably a better team. And it's going to be pretty cool, I think.
Well, looks like we recorded this before the Carson Wentz injury, as well as the Quentin Nelson one. Whoops.
I'm in. So we can look through some of these guys. Jonathan Taylor's coming into year 2. Marlon Mack's back. And Naheem Hines is not gone anywhere yet. So we can expect a pretty powerful backfield. I still am a full-time Jonathan Taylor lover.
As you should be.
So Marlon Mack can carry the luggage or whatever he needs to do. But this wide receiver core has got to be one of the most uncertain ones, in my opinion. You got T.Y. is back on a 1-year deal. Zach Pascal, who's not sexy, but has been super consistent for the Colts. And then you got Paris Campbell, struggle with injury, and then Michael Pittman might have underperformed in the grand scheme of the rookie breakouts last year.
It's still not a terrible rookie showing.
No,
no. 500 yards and a touchdown on 40 catches. That's not awful, but it's not great either.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe Davis had 7 touchdowns on 45 catches. People do crazy shit. But no, he's a player I was really excited about coming out of USC. He did a lot of powerful things there, and I think I'm just trying to decide if I think a healthy Paris Campbell is the guy, or is it going to be a more established Michael Pittman, or is it going to be like T.Y. proven that he's still a fighter? So it's just crazy. I'm excited about this team, but I don't know where to direct that excitement.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, all these guys are kind of injury prone outside of Pittman too. Hilton and Campbell, and it was a bit shocking to me that they didn't sign a free agent wide receiver or draft somebody pretty early.
For sure.
But a guy who I am excited that they did draft pretty early, Kylan Granson is pretty exciting to me the more I read and research about him. He transferred to SMU and for his junior and senior year, and those years he combined for 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. Just his 2 last seasons.
Yeah.
So transferred out of, and it's a sin, I forgot to write it down, but I forget where he came from. But he transferred to SMU, blew up, and then you look at Carson Wentz, who in 2019, first of all, everyone acts like he's been really bad for a long time. 2019, he had 27 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. It wasn't like an amazing year, but that's not bad. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert combined for 222 targets that year. From Carson Wentz. So now we get a guy who, in Kylan Granson, they drafted him in the 3rd round. Huge capital there for a tight end. He's 6'1", 241 pounds, and he ran a 4.7, which is faster than Zach Ertz. And he had that production in his last 2 years. The Colts obviously believe in him, and Mo Alley Cox and Jack Doyle are both free agents at the end of the year. And so any of your dynasty tight end premium leagues, this dude's still going undrafted. And I really think he could be a steal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a guy.
Frank Reich directly wanted him. That's why he went in the third round.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it was Reich's guy.
He goes over a lot of tight ends that we probably were thinking. He wasn't even on our list of guys to talk about pre-draft, and he gets a third-round pick because Frank Reich wants to use him. So, I don't know. I like the weapons. It's going to be interesting. They need to improve the wide receiver room, but if everybody stays healthy, I still like this room. And Campbell obviously Reich still obviously believes in Campbell. I mean, he only played one full game last year, but he got 9 targets in that game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you. So I got him in 4th round, and Jack Doyle, a free
Was it
agent
4th round?
2023.
Oh, okay.
I just not trying to spill gravy on the floor. I just throwing that shit out there. And he went to Rice before he went to SMU.
Well, fuck me, I guess.
Rice.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, you're good, man.
yeah.
You are well.
We're all on the same length. That's just how excited you are.
You're head and shoulders above me, my friend. I just had a couple of caveats for you.
That's fair.
But I'm with you, man. I think I like Kylan Granson. He's badass. And that kind of production in college is not really common for even your most elite, not Kyle Pitts, but your Harold tight ends coming out don't even touch those kind of numbers. So fuck yeah, man. I mean, Colts, let's do this.
I mean, they didn't lose they competed with the Chiefs.
Yeah?
They're going into the. I mean, they lost in what the.
They're the Bills in the playoffs.
Oh, the Bills. Yeah,
Yeah, they lost to the Bills on the last drive of the game.
Yeah, and so that team's
God.
like, dude.
I forget that. Like, they had a kind of a shitty play call, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think it was the right play call. I forget what happened. Yeah, it was weird.
They didn't go for it on 4th at one point, I think. And
Yeah.
It
was a weird game.
Yeah, I think that was the one where, like, right before half, they didn't get the touchdown or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Bill,
Well, they fumbled on the last drive, too.
Oh, my God. I forgot. God.
Yeah, and it was, like, called initially not a fumble, but then they looked at it and realized it was.
Yeah.
And it definitely was, but it just sucked.
Yeah, that was. I remember talking to you about this, Daniel, where I was like, man, I was doing the depth chart stuff and how young and awesome that defense was, and bringing in Carson Wentz. I was like, man, that's like a go to the Vegas and put $50 on the Super Bowl because they could do that.
Yeah.
I could see that for sure.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, so easily, I think we're all picking them to win the division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, I've seen some interesting comments on our YouTube videos, but I still consider Carson Wentz an upgrade over Philip Rivers.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
It's recency bias. He had a terrible year behind a terrible offensive line where he's playing dudes off the street at wide receiver. It was an awful year, but I don't know. I feel like we've seen enough from Carson Wentz to know that that's not who he is.
Upgrading to one of the best offensive lines.
Yeah.
One of the best running back prospects. And who knows? I mean, the receiver room's question marks, but I mean.
I just don't think he's
Better than
broken the way other people do.
And once again, we recorded this before we knew Carson Wentz was going to have foot surgery. So, we'll see y'all haters after week fucking 12. God damn it.
May never be 2017 Carson Wentz again, but I don't think he needs to be to win with the Colts.
I think it's his best shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
100%.
It's
doubt.
not like. Yeah, we're talking about Philip Rivers, but we're talking about, 39-year-old Philip Rivers?
Yeah.
Yeah, like his last year as a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Fun times. So,
All right.
shit, man. Who do you got next?
I got the Jags, but I can go anywhere.
Okay, I can go. I got quick links on my spreadsheet.
Baby.
Because that's what I do for fun.
Well, then let's hit that coach's corner.
Let's talk Jacksonville Jaguars, man. All right, head coach Urban Meyer. I don't know. If you don't know who Urban Meyer is, you've never watched college football in your life in the last 15 years.
Lucky.
He's. I mean, I don't really need to go too in depth with it. He won championships at Florida with. He is the reason for Tim Tebow, unfortunately.
To twice now.
Twice now, yeah, exactly. He also made his comeback with the Ohio State Buckeyes, where he did pretty damn good there.
Hell yeah, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
He's the reason for, he coached people like Joey Bosa, Ezekiel Elliott, Eli Apple, Taylor Decker, Darren Lee, Marquise Pouncey, Reggie Nelson, Denzel Ward, Percy Harvin, Michael Tomic, Nick Bosa. I mean, like the list goes on,
Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel. Nice. Not to mention, I think the only thing worth mentioning in his college career that I thought was also very impressive was he did coach the Utah Utes to a 22-2 year, winning against, I forget who it was, but guiding Alex Smith into a first overall pick. So I think that was worth mentioning. So
damn, he's redeemable, huh?
he is.
It's all fine and good.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the offensive coordinator, Darrell Bevel. And I think he starts with my good friend Christian's favorite team over there, the Green Bay Packers. Mm-hmm. So he was a quarterback coach in 2003, 2005 after being the assistant coach for a couple of years. He did, in 2003, coach Brett Favre he led the NFL in passing touchdowns. In 2005, Green Bay led the NFL in completions, attempts, and set a record in both categories. So the Packers team setting 4,449 net passing yards. So he did pretty well. Then he went on to the Minnesota Vikings to be the offensive coordinator from 2006 to 2010, where his first couple of years, it was kind of an atrocity of quarterbacks. I'm talking about...
Christian Ponder?
No, that wasn't until after him.
Oh,
I'm talking about Brad Johnson.
Oh, okay.
On his last year. Tavarius Jackson, Kelly Holcomb, Brooks Bollinger. And then they tried to bring in vet Gus Frerotte. And he didn't really find success until bringing in his former quarterback he coached called Brett Favre, where he found a little success. So I thought that was pretty interesting that he brought it in. They did really well that 2009 season, almost going to the NFC Championship, losing to the Saints. Bounty Gate, fuck the Saints. I did think what was notable is running back Adrian Peterson under those years had rushed for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns each per year, which, once again, I mean, it's Adrian Peterson, though, like one of the best of all time, but still, with atrocious quarterback play, still kind of finding the way. Then he moved on to be the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator from 2011 to 2017. And I think we all know that Seattle offense, that team was pretty good, helped guide that team to 5 playoff appearances, 3 NFC West championships, 2 NFC conference titles, and a Super Bowl. The Seahawks totaled 14,773 yards, ranking second in the NFL during that entire span. Quarterback Russell Wilson, he helped develop. His rookie year was his second year as an offensive coordinator. And I don't know if you remember, Russell Wilson coming out of college was like 5'10", young guy. No one had believed in him. So I thought it was pretty cool that he put his trust in that. And, he did very, very impressive. And then Derek Bevel went on to be the offensive coordinator for the Lions 2018 to 2020, where he led offensive attack, which led 10th in passing yards per game, which was pretty good for that team. Kenny Golladay, Matt Stafford, also coaching several running backs, so didn't really have a strong presence there. So it's kind of like the reverse of being with the Vikings, going from one of the best running backs of all time into the Lions
to Marshawn with the Seattle.
To Marshawn with Seattle to what? Kerryon Johnson and Amir Abdullah,
Ty
Johnson. The last thing I wanted to mention was the passing game coordinator and quarterback coach that they brought in, Brian Schottenheimer.
Ooh, heard of him.
Yeah, 2018, 2020, he was the Seattle offensive coordinator. So the successor of Darrell Bevel, which I thought was interesting. And we all know how that 2020 season went with Russell cooking, and then of course Pete Carroll fired him for philosophical differences.
That's Marty's son?
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty
impressive. with that all said, I guess the reason I brought Ryan Schottenheimer up and as well as Darrell Bevel is like I don't know if Urban Meyer plans on calling the plays, but he did bring in some pretty balling NFL experienced coaches on his squad there in his cabinet. So I thought that was worth mentioning. I'll kick it over to you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning, and hopefully he's smart enough to let them run it. Who knows, though? He's made a lot of weird choices. That all being said, though, a 1-15 team is not all of a sudden going to turn around just because they got a new coach and a quarterback. Just not going to happen, especially with one that offensive line was bad and they didn't do anything to fix it, which, I mean, I already talked about that a lot. We don't need to run down that anymore. But, I mean, they ranked in the bottom 3 for yards and points on both offense and defense.
Yeah.
So they were just one of the worst teams in the NFL. Their record shows it. I think they'll get better. They've added some young pieces, but they're also counting on a lot of young guys. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, Etienne's going to be a huge part. Chenault has to make sure that he bounces from his rookie year into a good second year. And then Luke Farrell is technically on their depth chart as their number 1 tight end right now. So there's basically 2 rookies and then 1 second-year player as your starting pieces on offense. Yeah. I don't know. What I can say, though, Trevor Lawrence is used to spreading the ball around. Aaron Rodgers and Cornell Powell both had 50 or more receptions last year. Etienne was right there with 48. The year before that, Lawrence had Ross and T. Higgins both top 50, with Rodgers and Etienne both going over 30. So that'll be good for the receivers. Like, Lawrence is obviously not going to force feed one person. He's never done it in his career. Nobody's had over 100 targets. I know that's in college, so that's unheard of anyway. But nobody gets much more than 50 on a Lawrence team. So that's going to help him out a lot if he can read the defenses and put the ball in the people's hands that are open. But I still don't expect a lot from this team.
Yeah, I mean, that's very, very smart. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, 30th in points scored, 31st points allowed. Your team isn't going to correct both those issues in one go. It kind of seemed to me, as far as the free agency went, there was quite a bit of money spent on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is really cool. Drafting went pretty, I'd say defense heavy if you ignore the first round. They did pick up a tackle in the second round, so they're trying something. But, yeah, this team's going to suck. The O-line ranking finishes 22nd last year. We're at 29th now. And that's not going to bode well for a rookie quarterback making that transition, as good as he may someday be. It's going to be waiting for a year. All the coaches are new, and there's not a whole lot of goodness left over from last year. I'm excited, though. I do have some excitement for a team that looks like it's probably going to be playing from behind. It's going to be struggling. So. Yeah. Maybe this will be some big shots. I'm excited about looking at this depth chart. You know, you've mentioned Laviska Shenault. You got DJ Chark. Marvin Jones is in the house. You know, he's in from Detroit, where he come with Bevel. So connection with the OC could be pretty exciting. If you look at Keelan Cole left 88 targets. Surprisingly, Chris Connolly left 63 targets, and Tyler Eifert left 60. So that's a pretty good chunk of targets, about 200 targets to go around. I know we all know that Travis Etienne, you know, slot 2.0 is going to be mopping up a lot of those. But another thing that this team ranked pretty low in last year was rush attempts. That was kind of surprising to me. I know we were all pretty excited about James Conner, or James Robinson. No one was excited about James Conner. But this team ranked 30th in rush attempts, I believe. And, 32nd in rush attempts last year. And James Conner had
James Robinson.
James Robinson had 240 of their 337 rush attempts. So it seems like there should be more rush attempts to go around. Kind of gives me the idea that maybe James Robinson will still be a viable option for this team. A little more than I did going into this episode. I kind of had just hoped that I could get Shenault or DJ Chark and wait it out a year.
Yeah.
But now that I see the rushing opportunities should go up over last year, I'm a little bit excited to see what happens between this, I don't know, 1A, 1B kind of backfield situation.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the tight end game is going to be weak, as you mentioned. Luke Farrell is the number one on the depth chart.
And Tim Tebow's in that room, so.
I'd still like James O'Shaughnessy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't get much love, but he's always been pretty consistent in a very limited role.
Yeah, for sure. And he's second on their depth chart.
Okay, cool. Well, that makes me excited.
As far as what I could find online.
Yeah, I did.
I guess I don't know for sure. I'm not friends with Urban Meyer, but.
You ought to be, man. It
If
looks
I
like
was-
he's pretty desperate for friends.
If he
Hang out with
offered, I
Tebow.
feel like you'd
Think
say
he-
no.
Yeah. I'd probably say no. I don't think he'd like it very much.
Well, I think, that's definitely where the Shenault hype comes from, is Urban Meyer. You're looking at the Curtis Samuels of the past, the Percy Harvins of the past, all coached in college by Urban Meyer.
Woo.
The drafting of Trevor Lawrence and his one of his favorite targets, Amari Rodgers. So,
Yeah.
we'll see, man. I mean, I'm excited because, Bevel did coach up Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So, did bring in, like you said, Marvin Jones. So, I mean,
There's
it's
chances,
not
but
overnight.
just not this year, I don't think.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, that I forgot to bold in my notes when I was mentioning all those college players. I was like, ain't no recruiting in the NFL, homie.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you never know, man. Maybe you just wait a year and this whole team could blow up. DJ Chark might go elsewhere, and then that leaves Josh Immature Baby to take over his role. So
Snap.
you never know. You never know. I'd love to see him have some success at the next level.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Man, that'd be amazing.
Well, you guys want to bounce to the Houston?
Yeah.
Let's bounce to Houston, man, where we're talking about head coach David Culley. New addition head coach. The offensive coordinator is Tim Kelly. What's there to really say about him? He was a B.O.B. hire back in 2014. Worked his way up from tight ends coach to the OC. He kind of had the luxury of DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson and all that. I'm just going to skip over him because he kind of seems like he is just there to be in the booth. So we're going to talk about David Culley. You know, this guy's been coaching forever. He had about 16 years in college before making his way to the pros in 1994,
Jeez.
where he was a wide receiver coach for the Bucks. And then 96, 98, wide receivers coach for the Steelers. We're talking Yancey Thigpen, if you guys remember back then. I'm just going to be brief on the past years because then we're just getting into 1999, where he's a wide receivers coach for the Eagles under Coach Andy Reid.
Nice.
So this guy, through the years, gets eventually promoted to an offensive assistant and wide receivers coach in 2011, 2012. So he's with Andy Reid from 99 to 2012. So that's not too bad. So we're talking the likes of the early day Eagles with Terrell Owens and his 2004 campaign of 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. I'm just going to mark the notable guys. Coley worked closely with Deshaun Jackson, helping him develop to his Pro Bowl selections, where he went back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons in 2009, 2010. He also, in 2012, helped develop Jeremy Maclin, who then eventually became a Chief when Andy Reid became a Chief and brought over David Culley. So he followed him, was with the Chiefs, helped develop Tyreek Hill. I think we know who that is.
A little cheetah guy.
Yeah, a little cheetah, a little peace sign. There you go. So I mean, the standout rookie season, 61 catches, 593, and the team high 6 touchdowns, while also having Jeremy Maclin on that team kind of taking most of the targets. So then we go to 2007, 2018, where he leaves Andy Reid and the Chiefs and begins working with the Buffalo Bills as their quarterback coach. This is where we're talking Tyrod Taylor, 2017, 2,700 yards and 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So didn't do too bad. And then bringing in Josh Allen, helping develop Josh Allen. I don't know how much of it he actually developed, but this is the year where he comes in and produces 18 touchdowns, which is the most by a Bills rookie quarterback, but it was all rushing.
Yeah.
That's to be noted. So I thought that was interesting because then that leads him into 2019, 2020, where he's assistant head coach and passing game coordinator and receivers head coach for the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. So the more I got into it, it seemed like more of his wide receiver coaching went into developing receivers that could block well to go well with the rushing attack that we all know that Baltimore has been known for the last 2 years. So they did have the highest scoring offense in the NFL that 2019 year. I think we can all remember the best year by a fantasy quarterback. It has to be. I didn't look that up, but it has to be. And Lamar Jackson. He did coach up Hollywood Brown, who did well in 2019 for a rookie. Didn't do too much last year. Then we bring it to 2021, where he's the head coach for the Houston Texans, which I think was probably a great hire, assuming you had rushing quarterback Deshaun Watson. So my notable things is they just brought in Anthony Miller. They just traded for him. And bringing in Nico Collins as a longtime wide receiver coach, I think you'd be happy about that. But there's a lot of question marks, and I'll let you guys get into all that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, man.
Unless something goes really weird. I mean, I just took Deshaun Watson out of their depth chart for me. I don't see a situation where he's not traded.
Yeah.
Honestly. So you got Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills as your quarterbacks. They brought in a bunch of running backs, but, like, who are you going to start in fantasy? Like, you got David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, Rex Burkhead. Like, okay, cool. I would probably pick Phillip Lindsay out of that.
David Johnson,
But, like,
man.
But I don't know. What are you going to do? They're going to have a 4-headed monster in the running back room that's going to get 1,000 yards altogether.
You got to make up for Watson's rushing yards, I guess. I don't know.
And then even with getting Anthony Miller, their wide receiver room still looks pretty weak to me. You got Brandon Cooks, QT, Miller, Nico Collins. They lost Randall Cobb. Yeah, I just think they're going to be really bad, and I am not, other than like Davis Mills as a flyer in a super deep dynasty league and Nico Collins, I'm not really going after any of these Texans. Maybe Brevin Jordan, also another draft pick. But other than that, like, I don't want anything to do with this team.
Yeah. You've got everything down. No, I was talking a little bit about last year. They finished as the 31st team in rush attempts, and it was a pretty sad deal. Obviously, they were in a few games. Deshaun Watson played amazingly.
Yeah, he did crush it.
It was like he put the whole city of Houston on his back, and then now he's like, going to be on the first train out, apparently. It's been a rough offseason for the guy. But if we're talking about those rush attempts that were 31st in the league, 90 of them were Deshaun. So that's pretty intense. Duke Johnson's out of town, 77 rush attempts there. And then we want to talk about some vacated targets a little bit. Will Fuller had 75, Randall Cobb had 48, and Duke Johnson had 35. So somebody's got to do something here. I kind of bet on David Johnson. He kind of had a strong start to the year. A couple pretty awesome games. I know you saw him run some nice red zone outside rushes for the end zone. He got pretty happy about it. So I expect to see a little bit of that. But like you're saying, grab your Brevin Jordan, grab your Nico Collins. See me in 2023.
Yeah.
After hopefully they don't get rid of any more first round draft picks to Miami.
Well, hopefully they get a bunch for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, maybe if he goes to Philadelphia, that would be interesting. But that's the latest rumors. I think Jordan Akins could have a pretty decent year, and if Anthony Miller can pull his head out of his ass, he's always been a super talented wide receiver.
That's fair.
So there are opportunities on this team if they can paper mache this together. It sounds like they got a great coach. So
Yeah.
so let's see what
hopefully
happens.
he can pull it out. That'd be a cool success
Yeah.
story, but I'm
Yeah.
not counting on this year.
Hopefully they don't win one too many games to get the whoever I guess would be the number one pick next
They
year.
do have this year's first rounder, right?
Yeah.
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 The whatever. Oklahoma.
Then,
Spencer
sorry,
Rattler.
Spencer Rattler, yeah.
Sorry, Texans fans. You're going to eat a whole bag of dicks this year, probably.
Yeah.
Hey, just be glad Urban Meyer's not your coach.
Yeah. I just thought it was really funny going through all that. Like, oh man, they might have done their research a little bit. Bring him in to coach Deshaun Watson. It might actually work out really well.
They had a plan.
Yeah. And then it just all kind of fell apart. I mean, he did coach Tyrod Taylor already before. Who
For
knows?
sure.
But that seems like a stopgap.
Yeah.
That's going to end once they lose their first 4 games. They're like, well, we might as well fucking put this other kid we drafted in.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I think Tyrod probably could do better for this organization, but it would probably not be smart to try and win.
yeah.
But it's you can see it in free agency. So many of their signings were, very, very low dollar.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's get a serviceable team. It's like watching the replacements or something. Like Keanu Reeves
Well, and
going to be the quarterback.
I doubt anyone wanted to go there.
Oh, for
also.
sure.
So,
Yeah, just
they
fill
got to
up Lindsay.
rebuild that representation,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, David McCauley was all like, Mark Ingram, I remember you. I remember how well you did in 2019.
What's up, dog?
Yeah, they've been together for a few years now.
Well,
But shit.
Well,
I guess there's not much more to say.
No, there's not
I'm
really.
sorry, Texans.
Yeah, it's rough.
Draft research.
All the way.
There you go.
Single tears.
Nice plug right there. Let's talk Tennessee Titans.
Absolutely.
The last team. Well, not the last. Not going to be last, but the Tennessee Titans to wrap up the NFC or AFC South here. We're going to talk, head coach Mike Vrabel, he's a defensive guy, so we're going to go straight into the offensive coordinator, Todd Downing.
Downy soft.
So he's a Minnesota guy. I thought this was interesting. He was a assistant coach at Eden Prairie in Minnesota at a high school level. Helped him lead to a 5A state title, and then just went right into being an intern assistant for the Vikings.
Huh.
Pretty good start, man. I thought that was
Coaches
Kinda
must
cool.
have had some kids in high school.
he must have. He also played for a semi-pro team while coaching his first couple of years at Minnesota.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, not that it was any relevance, just fun fact.
Yeah.
So Aaron turned for the Vikings, working himself up to a quality control position, 2001, 2005. Then he was a defensive assistant, moving on to the St. Louis Rams, working his way up there, and then eventually being hired by the Lions as an offensive quality control coach in 2009, quickly rising up through the rankings and becoming the assistant quarterback coach all the way to the quarterback coach. And if there's one thing you can remember about the 2009-2013 Lions was they drafted a fella named Matt Stafford, who came out pretty strong. So in those 3 seasons as a quarterback coach, Stafford started all 48 games, passed for at least 4,600 yards and 20 touchdowns apiece. So including the 5,000-yard, 41 touchdown season in 2011, that was with the Calvin Johnson, Brandon Pettigrew, and Nate Burleson year. But it is worth noting Stafford went on to become the franchise leader in attempts, completions, and passing yards, and ranking second in touchdowns by the end of 2013. under him being a quarterback coach. He was then hired by the Oakland Raiders to be the quarterback coach, where this is where we saw 2015 to 2016, we saw a pretty awesome Derek Carr. So he was the quarterback coach, ultimately becoming the offensive coordinator. So this is where Derek Carr posted one of his best seasons in 2015, going almost 4,000 yards and 32 touchdowns with Michael Crabtree and rookie Amari Cooper. Yeah. And then in 2016, one of the best offensive performances by the Raiders. Sorry, I suck at this shit, man. Carr finished with almost 4,000 yards there. He also set a franchise record with 513 yards in the team's overtime victory in one single game, which was the previous record owner was Matt Stafford in 2012. So another fun fact, he was named the Castrol Edge Clutch Performer of the Year, that Derek Carr, and that was also the year where he broke his fibula in Week 16, then losing to the Broncos, and then losing the first round of the playoffs, where they were pretty almost destined to make quite the run and win the West. They ended up losing the AFC West that next game to losing to the Broncos. So he was promoted in 2017 to the offensive coordinator. Mind you, he was the quarterback's coach previous, so take that for what it's worth. The team goes 6-10, a pretty disappointing season, an aging Michael Crabtree. Nonetheless, Carr goes to his third consecutive Pro Bowl, so that's pretty impressive. 2018 moves on to the Minnesota Vikings, back to him as a tight ends coach. This is where Kyle Rudolph has his Pro Bowl year of 64 receptions and 634 yards, so not super impressive, but a Pro Bowl nonetheless. Moving on to be the Tennessee Titans tight end coach, being kind of the follow-up to Arthur Smith, where Jonnu Smith, we already kind of talked about this, Anthony Firkser had a pretty good year that next year under Arthur Smith, but I think most of the credit can go to Arthur Smith for all of that, so nothing really to see there. I also wanted to say a notable thing in 2017 when he became the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. Not only did the targets to the primary receivers drop from 277 to 197, Marshawn Lynch was that leading rusher with 207 attempts for 891 yards and 7 touchdowns. The next in rushing attempts was 57, so there was quite a decline when he took over as the offensive coordinator. I mean, Derek Carr did have a Pro Bowl season, but also coming back from that injury. Mm-hmm. That was Michael Crabtree's one of his last years. He was 30. But I just thought that was something to consider as he slides his way into a new offensive coordinator position for the Tennessee Titans. Not really one to run the ball when you have it, and you're coaching a Derrick Henry. So, mind you, with all that information, I'll kick it over to you guys.
Well, fuck, dude. He better know what to do with 30-year-old wide receivers, I think Julio might be a little older than that.
Yeah, I think he's, 32?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, interesting. A lot of turnover for the Titans this year. I mean, they lose Kenny Vaccaro, Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, Dennis Kelly, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, and Desmond King. All gone. Yeah. But they had a lot brought in, too. They brought in Julio Jones. They bring in Bud Dupree, Danico Autry, Josh Reynolds, Janoris Jenkins. And then in the draft, they go get Caleb Farley, arguably, definitely a top 3 corner in the draft. And you can argue the order if you want. And I think they had a good draft. I'm more curious, do you guys really think that their style of offense is going to change that much, even with the new offensive coordinator? They were 30th in the league in pass attempts last season and 23rd in yards. And I think, before I kick it to you, I just think I could see their passing attack being more dangerous with Julio and A.J. Brown, but maybe not as productive still as what everybody thinks, because I could still see Derrick Henry just destroying them on the ground.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you. I think they went to go get Julio Jones for whatever reason, but I think this is still going to be run the same, considering the OC was the tight ends coach following in Arthur Smith's shoes.
Yeah.
So I don't changing too much. But
Yeah, man, I just don't know what to think about this team because in my mind, I see them as kind of like an ultra contender. And, they were 30th in passing attempts, but they were 9th, tied for 8th in passing touchdowns.
Oh, for sure.
At
Efficient.
33. So,
Yeah.
well, so add Julio to that, who's not the red zone guy, which wasn't the issue. But, maybe they can take it to the next level. I don't know, man. I don't really see this as the kind of team that supports those two alpha kind of wide receivers.
No, I'm with you. But I do think they're going to have to get ready for shootouts, too, though, because, they're going to have one of the best offenses in the league, most likely. And then they had one of the worst defenses in the league, and I don't really see that changing. Like, I like the guys they brought in, but you're counting on Caleb Farley and who's Elijah Molden to come in and produce right away. And corner is a notoriously hard position to immediately make an impact. And then you brought in Janoris Jenkins, who, is good, was really good, was good last year, fine. But, the Saints cut him for a reason.
For sure.
So we're going to be in shootout mode. But I'm just worried that, like, Titans shootout looks a lot different than a normal team shootout when Derrick Henry runs a 75-yard touchdown every other drive.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and then you got to bring up the run defense was horrible.
yeah.
And the pass rush defense was god awful.
Yeah, I do think they upgraded that with Bud Dupree and getting rid of Jadeveon Clowney. Mm-hmm. But still, it's not going to be
more
amazing.
than one player
Yeah, exactly.
to overcome the obstacles they're facing, for sure.
So, yeah, they're going to need to put a lot of points on the board, but worryingly, I don't know that they put a lot of points on the board the way you'd want for Julio and A.J. Brown.
Yeah. Damn it, dude.
It almost feels like a scenario where Julio and A.J. Brown are both not as good as they used to be, but the team is better for it.
For sure.
In fantasy, Like, they're both not producing the way they used to, but the team is scoring like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then Derrick Henry still does Derrick Henry stuff.
Yeah, you can't stop Derrick Henry until one day.
He's just too old. Yeah.
For sure. So I do think Ryan Tannehill gets a bump
Yeah, that's fair.
with the Julio, but like you're saying, I'm not like AJ Brown was about to be the king of the world,
Yeah.
Or King Henry, I guess, is there. So whatever that makes him, Prince Brown.
Prince Brown.
But yeah, now it's fantasy wise. It's like, shit, I don't even know what to think,
Yeah.
I guess I'll grab Anthony Ferkshire, that seems like a pretty safe bet. But the rest of it is completely up in the air. Nothing's changing in the backfield. Nothing really changing on the offensive side of the ball, even though you get a coaching change. I don't think it means anything in this offense.
I agree. Also, one quick thing about tight ends.
Yep.
Jeff is not spelled Geoff. It's just not. I don't care what anybody says. It's not Jeff. That's Geoff. Just have to get that out there. I've never understood that.
I have to agree with you.
Like, Geoff Swain, you're not fooling anybody.
Nope.
All right.
Not sneaky at all. So what about that number 3 wide receiver? I know it's not going to be a sexy role on this team, but you think Josh Reynolds is going to come add quite a bit, or are you going to go more the Des Fitzpatrick way? He's got the draft capital, or
I think it'll be Reynolds, at least for this year. Fitzpatrick is definitely destined to slide into it, but I don't know, man. Like, again, Josh Reynolds could be huge. Like, I could see Josh Reynolds' third down conversion numbers being, like, really awesome. He just gets open, gets a third down, but he has, like, 3 catches a game for, like, 28 yards and occasionally a touchdown. And so,
sure.
like, for fantasy, I just don't see that happening. But he could be a player that Titans fans look at and go, that's awesome. Every time we need a third down, Josh Reynolds comes in and crushes it.
Yeah.
it's kind of what he was doing with the Rams.
Yeah, and they're going to have to cover A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, and you only have so many guys. So that makes sense that Josh Reynolds would get open in these important plays.
Yeah.
So it's going to be awesome, but I just don't think fantasy-wise it's going to translate.
Would you believe me if I told you that between Adam Humphries, Corey Davis, and Johnny Smith that there are 192 vacated targets from last year.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that. So I guess this offense is going to be a little different.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't think Julio can stay. I don't think he can. He can't. I don't think he can.
Stay healthy.
Yeah. I mean, even if he's healthy, he can't. I don't think that he's going to demand the respect the defense is. Like, people are like, oh, you put Julio out there and that opens the world for A.J. Brown.
I think A.J. Brown's still the number one guy you worry about.
Absolutely.
Like,
But, just balancing the defense's attack by giving Julio attention, I don't think it's going to be as much as people are worried about, I don't know. What I'm saying is I think Julio is going to disappoint. I'm not really interested in him.
I mean, my hamstring injuries are constantly reoccurring the older players get too, and he's just getting older.
yeah.
That's why I actually picked up Josh Reynolds and Ferkser because I think they are both one hamstring injury away from just
Starting.
being a valuable or a viable option.
I heard you got Racy McMath on one of your teams, too.
Damn right. He's sitting there on my taxi squad. Our taxi squad.
The taxi squad. A taxi squad.
Well,
We're weird.
I mean, is that all we got?
I guess
think
so.
I think that's going to bring us to the end here, boys.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's the AFC South, everybody. So thanks for tuning in. We're just going to keep this going. Make sure you tune in. These drop on Saturday. We also do our ADP episode, which drops on Wednesdays. We've been doing some card breaks that will be released over some time whenever I get to it. So I apologize for that for you guys and the
You're
viewers.
good.
And
No
all right.
sweat off my balls, buddy.
And, we're changing too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, we got some breaking news. Breaking my heart news.
Yes,
So-
we'll say.
So yes, I will. This will be my last live episode for a while. Well, I'll be live, but
Not in the room.
Be moving to Oregon in a week, and so I'll still be on the podcast for anybody that's wants me to. That's exciting. If you were hoping that maybe I'd get kicked out, then fuck you, and it's not happening.
Fuck you.
So we'll change a little bit, but we're going to keep the same content coming. Hopefully there will be no dip in quality.
No, sir.
Yeah,
So-
it's gonna be weird. I just look at you the whole time, and I'm just gonna. I don't know. How
That'll
you
just
just
be
throw
on
me
the
up on
screen.
that screen.
We'll have to bring the third screen back, and you're gonna.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, now the price of lumber's dropping. I can finally build that
Oh, there you go.
table for us. I'll send half of it to Oregon.
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect.
Yeah, man, we're gonna miss having you in the
Yeah.
in the flesh.
It's going to be one of the worst parts about moving is not doing this
Oh, we're
with
still,
you guys.
We're
so.
still gonna do it.
Oh, I mean,
It's
yeah.
Still gonna be good.
But it's fun coming over here every week. I won't have to worry about driving home anymore, I guess.
So yeah, now when you guys notice the first couple episodes when we're on that like maybe possible Zoom delay, and we're both like awkwardly like, no, go, yeah, you go. No.
Go ahead.
Just work with us. We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we got a pretty good balance, as far as anticipating each other
Yeah, I
speaking.
think
So
we'll be all
hopefully,
right.
hopefully that can go through the latency and all that shit, and we'll be happy as can be, bringing you guys everything you need as you get ready to dominate your fantasy leagues.
Yeah, we got to do a shout out at the end of the year. Anyone that was an active listener that won their league, we need to know about it.
Yeah, except
Yeah,
for most
yeah.
of our listeners are in leagues with us, and y'all ain't
Yeah.
winning. You ain't winning those leagues.
Yeah, so whoever gets fourth place in those leagues after the 3 rounds, congratulations.
All right. Well, on that note,
Peace out, guys.